Councillor Caxero,
I'll move the recommendation.
supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item I, Corporate Services, Report Number 2015-006, with regards to Delegation of Authority bylaw.
Moved by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Councillor Snively. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 9, Correspondence. A is Kathleen Wynne, Premier of Ontario, correspondence regarding Greater Essex County District School Board.
Motion received by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions or comments? Councillor Bjorkman.
We asked the Premier to either come here and speak with us, send a representation to speak with us. We invited 2 other members of the Ontario government to come speak with us with regard to Harrow. The reply did not mention rural schools, did not mention funding formulas, did not mention coming or not, and no one else replied. So I don't know what we're receiving, but it's just right now it's just a symptom of what we're going through as far as what we're dealing with our schools. Our schools, we've said from the start, and Councillor Bondi has been clear, that the big thing right now, we're trying to find ways to make ourselves a community hub, find ways to work within the community, but the funding system's not right. We still have 2 complete boards. If they want to find waste, they can find waste tomorrow morning. And we're not going at that. So this reply from her, I'd rather not receive it, but it's here, so we have to. I'd just like to speak out that it didn't answer one question that we asked them to address.
That's right, Matt.
Anyone else? And I would just add, since we've gone through these meetings with regards to the hub project, and the park people, she mandated her ministers to meet with us and everything. And then in this letter that she sent to us, she says the school boards have the authority to look after this stuff. Well, to me, Premier, you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth. You're saying something to the ladies and you're saying something opposite to the men. And, we're not going to settle for that. We're going to dig deeper into this, because you can't say one thing and then turn around and say the opposite. So we're not finished with you. That's what I'm going to say as a municipality, and hopefully we're going to have the whole county on our side. So thank you very much. Anything further? Councillor Caxero and then Deputy Mayor Malash.
Through your worship, I think Councillor Bjorkman, what it does speak is it speaks volumes to the fact that actually there's two items. One, I think for anybody that didn't know, certainly speaks volumes to the fact that the province is broke. They don't have any money to fix the funding formula. But subsequent to what you said, we have 2 school boards that could work together. They also don't have a desire to put in some work and fix the problem without spending money. So I think that's what that letter speaks volumes to, those 2 items. So I think there is a response. Maybe it's a hidden message, but it's pretty clear to me.
Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through your worship. Based on what Councillor Bjorkman was saying, perhaps we should be drafting another letter and sending it to AMO on behalf of rural municipalities that have rural schools, suggesting that, we're fed up with the way the formula is at this point in time. And I know there's already a move on at the AMO level, because I've heard Gary McNamara, president of AMO, speak about it. But Doug Raycraft as well, he's a past president of AMO, has headed up an organization that's looking at schools in rural Ontario and how this funding formula is not feasible for rural Ontario. But perhaps we should be adding our voice and sending a draft letter, I mean, to anybody who will listen so that they know that they've got our support. And I would suggest that, and I can't remember the name of the organization right now, but I would suggest that we draft a letter to AMO suggesting them that the town of Essex is not happy with the situation of the way rural schools are funded, and copy Wynne, Kathleen, all the premiers, all the heads of the different parties, as well as Doug Raycraft. And Cheryl, if you're not sure who, where to find that, I can find that information for you. Where Doug Raycraft, you can get a hold of him. But to let them know that, you know, there's another community here that within the province that is not happy with this formula. So I'm gonna make that motion, actually, that we draft a letter and send it to AMO.
We have a motion on the floor, but as soon as we deal with
Okay.
that one, Richard will come back to
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Councillor Caxero?
Through your worship, when that motion is drafted, I would suggest possibly including Roma on that also.
Anyone else? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll make a motion that we send a letter to AMO, copying all the leaders of the different parties of Ontario, and copying Doug Raycraft. Not sure if we should be copying other municipalities in the county here, but and Roma. Do we want to copy the other municipalities in the county or not? Yeah, we
You
must.
said the more the merrier.
Yeah, we should copy the other municipalities. And yeah, I could send it to Essex County as well. Just displaying our dissatisfaction with the funding formula, current funding formula. And the inability of the current government to address the issue, or the reluctance.
Supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions to that motion? Councillor Caxero.
Through your worship, I don't know if we can get a breakdown of rural municipalities versus cities such as Toronto and London, or just remove those out of the mix. But I would suggest, really, if you want to extend it to all municipalities, because I can imagine in some neck of the woods up in northern Ontario, there's probably another small municipality going at the same problem and thinking that they're the only ones facing the problem. I mean, by sending it out to all the municipalities, you may find there's 50 others that join the fight.
Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
Item B, Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport. And this is a reply to Council's letter regarding the Canadian Transportation Museum and Heritage Village grant.
Councillor Bonnie moves, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
Item C, correspondence to the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care from the Leamington District Memorial Hospital.
Councillor Caxero. Motion to receive, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
Item D, Windsor Essex County Health Unit Notice Action under Ontario Regulation 199/03, the West Nile virus response to larva sighting.
Supported by Councillor Snively and Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
Item E, Charter Challenge Ontario's Wind Turbine Approval Process or a request for financial support.
Councillor Bonnie moves to receive. Councillor Bjorkman seconds. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
Item F, correspondence from George Alabakis regarding stormwater drainage issues in McGregor.
Deputy Mayor Malash. Supported by Steve Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
10, committee meeting minutes. A are the October 2nd, 2014, January 8th, 2015, and March 5th, 2015 minutes of the Essex Police Services Board.
Moved by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
Item B, Arts, Culture, and Tourism Committee meeting minutes from March 11th, 2015.
By Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Sorry. Item C, Finance Committee meeting minutes from March 11th, 2015. And there are 8 recommendations.
Deputy Mayor Malash. Moves, supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? Comment from Councillor Bondi.
Just wanted to thank the Finance Committee for their diligent work on this file. I know that grant time is never easy, and there's never enough money, but I think they did a good job with the grants for 2015, considering what a tight budget we have. So thank you for all the headaches. I'm not on the Finance Committee any longer, so I get to sit back and watch how it turns out. It's actually kind of nice.
The committee is led by our Deputy Mayor, Rich Malash, as chair. Any further? All in favor? Motion carries.
D, Communities in Bloom Committee meeting from March 24th, 2015.
Moved by Councillor Caxero, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor? That's 2. Anyone else in favor? Motion carries.
Item 11, bylaws. A, bylaw number 1399, being a bylaw to regulate the setting of open-air burning and identify the precautions observed for such fires within the town of Essex. And this bylaw requires a 3rd reading.
Councillor Caxero,
Move the bylaw.
supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item B, bylaw number 1405, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement between the town of Essex and Conference Systems, Inc. for voter list management services.
Councillor Caxero,
Motion to enact the bylaw.
supported by Councillor Caxero. Why do I always call you Bill? Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you through your worship to Cheryl, our clerk. Is this the same outfit that we've used in the past?
Yes, it is, through your worship.
Thank you.
Anything further? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item C, bylaw 1406, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this evening's council meeting.
Councillor Carriero and Councillor Snively.
Motion to enact bylaw.
Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 12A, financial February 2015 bank payments report.
Councillor Bjorkman, seconded by Councillor Carriero. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
Item 13, new business. A, Councillor Vokes has asked that this be deferred to the April 20th, 2015 meeting, since he is not in attendance this evening. Item B, Councillor Snively has withdrawn the first bullet about student employment and repairs to Snake Lane. So we'll discuss development charges in the De Silva subdivision.
Councillor Snively.
I know I've discussed this several times with, I think Russ and I have talked this over a few times, and I've talked it over with I think we had, Russ and yourself and I had a heated argument about this one a little bit. But I think as council, I'm looking at school closure in Harrow. I'm looking at the population of the town of Harrow itself. And I strongly believe the only way we're going to continue to keep the school open is through future residential growth. And I think the only way we're going to do that is to look at our development fees. I know in the long run it's going to cost us money to do it. I would like to bring it to the table here and just say, we do have reserves. If we couldn't take some of those reserves and put them aside and offset development fees for a 24-month window period. We have developers waiting to come into town. I think our development fees right now are $18,000, Donna? Is it $18,000 for a residential home?
Through you, your worship, yes, they are.
18,000. I think in the long run, it's going to be a win-win situation for just not, I'm not just talking the support of the school. I'm talking support of our downtown business area, our arenas, everything. If we don't have residential growth in our town's failing. And it is to this day failing. I've lived there my entire life. And I'll tell you, it's going in the wrong direction. But I would like to bring it to council's attention on development fees to see if we could do something on development fees. I think it's time that we move on and try to get some development in this town. We all have developers that we've talked to that are ready to put the shovel in the ground in Harrow. So let's discuss it. Thank you.
Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. A year ago, I sat here and I probably wouldn't have budged on residential development fees because we had a very good presentation from a consultant about cost recovery in terms of development fees. Development fees are when residents buy into our neighborhood, if they build, they pay a portion of what's already existing, the roads, the arenas, the infrastructure, so that they're not just coming in and, this sounds bad, but taking advantage of all the fancy things we have. That's why we have development fees. That was my basic layman terms understanding. Today, a year later, I think we're in a completely different new crisis here, especially in the southern half of our municipality. I would be up to reviewing development fees in the entire municipality, but in the southern half of municipality, I think it's time we have to make some waves. And I've been talking to Councillor Snively a lot, and I don't like the idea of waiving development fees or reducing development fees because I feel that the burden does go on everybody else. But if we can somehow finance it through reserves, I think it's one of the best ways we can use a reserve. I see our town, we haven't had any new residential growth in Harrow. When I was campaigning in September, in some of the fancier subdivisions in Harrow, some of the residents there said, we would like to buy another house in Harrow, but there's just no new homes going up in Harrow. So people in Harrow, we're going to come across the Fournier family on Roseboro who want to buy in Harrow, but there's not a lot of new homes in Harrow. And houses in Harrow are selling like hotcakes. If we could get some new development in there, I think our town is going to flourish. We have to do some things. We have to think out of the box. We have to do some things against administration's wishes. And we're a council, and I think we have to make some big moves right now in order to do everything we can in order to bring new residents into town. We're not ever going to make the money back from the development fees in terms of taxes. I don't see it as gaining more taxes necessarily, because we all know that a new home doesn't necessarily bring a greater tax benefit to the town. It's industrial and commercial that brings the better tax ratio. Residential homes require more services, so it's about even. When in terms of, Mr. Phillips had a great presentation to us saying, in order for us to increase our tax assessment, we need to go after the industrial and commercial. That's where the money is. Residential is not where the money is. But right now, we need the kids, we need the families, we need the people that are going to go to our stores, we need the people that are going to go to our schools, we need the bodies downtown. And I don't care what type of residential we need multi-residential, we need single, we need retirement homes, so that our older couples can move out of their bigger homes and young couples can move in those bigger homes. We need to make some drastic moves with this council, and I feel a big sense of urgency. If we do something with development fees, something drastic, then it's another signal to the province saying, hey, we're looking for development here. And it doesn't have to just be in Harrow. It can be in McGregor Centre, Colchester Centre, in Essex Centre too. But I support you, Councillor Snively, against administration's wishes, but I support you.
Okay, Mr. Phillips, Mrs. Hunter, Councillor Bjorkman. Councillor Cactero, Deputy Mayor Malaz.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Just a comment to the comments that Councillor Bondi just made. It's not effectively against administration's wishes, it's against our advice. While I would wish for better things to occur to the community as well in terms of growth and expansion and sustainability, it's our advice that we're trying to provide to you, and that in terms of being open for business, we are working on the industrial and commercial fronts aggressively. And this council has given, this council and previous councils have given authority to waive or not to charge for industrial development. Industrial development fees, there are none in this town right now. There's a 3-year moratorium on them. The costs of development are fixed. Somebody at the end of the day has to pay for new streets, new roads, new sewers, new sidewalks, new arenas, new pools, and all of the other things that go with it. So it's either the developer has to pay for those up front, or the taxpayer is going to pay for them later. And to burden today's taxpayer for future development flies in the face of good planning. And I thank you for recognizing that we've made this presentation before. I would ask the opportunity for administration to once more, and we're not prepared for it tonight because I wasn't really sure I saw the notion of development charges, not sure where you're going with this, if you're talking about waiving them all, but or what the proposal is. But I would ask that administration be given an opportunity to once again make a presentation to council and put the nuts and bolts on the table in terms of the costs, the pros and cons. Effectively, I can find paper after paper that talks about municipal leaders that focus on residential development and growth as being a sign or a gauge of a primary indicator of the health of the community. And that can be true in certain situations, but you need that balance. And while it certainly indicates an expanding tax base, residential development on itself is not sustainable. And I've said that to this council or previous councils. All you need to do is study a bedroom community. Look at an Okotoks, Alberta, which is a bedroom community. It has no industry, no commercial base. They have some of the highest taxes in the country because it's all burdened on the residential ratepayer. You want the services, you want the pools and the recreation facilities and the sidewalks. Somebody's got to pay for it. And if you don't have commercial and industrial to pay for those, they don't help. You're on your own. I gave you a study before on the cost of community services, and that not Doug's community services, but all community services. And there we're talking about recreation services, trails, sidewalks, libraries, refuse collection and disposal, those types of things. Service industry, the industry and commercial don't largely need those things. They need refuse collection, but they pay for it on their own. If you're a commercial enterprise, they pay for that outside their tax base in many cases. Roads, protection of persons and property, and other civic services are required by all, so everybody pays into the kitty for that type of service. But effectively what planning organizations have proven to me is that for every dollar in taxation that a municipality collects on residential, on a residential assessment, the community will pay in excess of $1.20 to $1.60 in providing services. So those services have to come in other forms. If you move the cost of the development onto the back of the existing taxpayer, yes, you're inviting more growth into your community, but effectively the people that are going to be coming to your community are getting a free lunch, and the existing tax base is going to pay for it. It's not the new taxpayer is going to burden that, it's your existing tax base. So it's got to be paid for somehow. It's either the developer puts in the services and carries that cost of them and then passes that on to the homeowner when that purchase is made, or conversely, and I know Leamington's doing it, I understand that, and I have had good discussions, very good discussions with a couple of council members on this regard. I'm simply asking for, before any change to the plans are made this evening, I would ask for an opportunity that administration can come forward with a brief presentation, not lengthy, but a brief presentation to give you some statistics and some data that would hopefully convey to you the reasons why this is it's a slippery slope.
Sir, Mrs. Hunter?
Through you, Your Worship, just going back to the amount of the development charges, I think I misheard, or my brain misheard what Councillor Snively had suggested. I believe he said 18,000. What our development charges are in Ward 4 are just over $9,000. And about $10,000 in Ward 1, and then under that in the other two wards. So I just wanted to clarify that, and I apologize. I heard 18, but my mind registered 9.
Thank you, Donna. Councillor Bjorkman?
Thank you, Your Worship. In our last few meetings on budget and everything, I've learned to fear the word reserve. Now, I heard it twice, and then I got my hair stood up back there. I'm not against the idea of looking at what can we do to promote building in our town. And can we do it by targeting areas? We have CIPs for business areas where we say, you know what, we're going to help new businesses come in. We're going to get them started in certain areas. So can we look at our town and say, you know what, this is an area that really needs help, as opposed to doing a town-wide policy? Do we say, you know, we're going to target specific areas and we're going to have incentives? And that's a great conversation to have. I think we're looking at Harrow, and we know that we need help in Harrow to keep people in the town and put new people into it. So I think it's a great conversation. I've never been one to say, you know, development charges, we'll get rid of them. Somebody has to pay that, and it's usually the people that are already here that have paid the brunt of it. But we have used that doctrine for our businesses, so why can't we look at it to say, for residential, this is a depressed area, this is somewhere we need it, can we find a way to help? But I sure wouldn't put reserves in the equation. It's when we go to that developer, is that developer going to guarantee that that home buyer is going to see that savings? That's one of the things I'm very skeptical with. We've all been told that our taxes went down because we got rid of a certain tax. I didn't see any change at the grocery store when I went shopping. So there are things that we need to look at that maybe we can work with them in partnership and do it in that kind of an issue where there's a discount brought forward. Maybe it's something that becomes in the budget as opposed to we've got some money buried over here, let's pull it over. I've learned my lesson about asking for that. But I do think the conversation should be had, and I'd love to hear Russ's presentation because I wasn't here for the last one and to understand exactly where those tax dollars go. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. And to that topic, Mr. Phillips.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I also I heard a comment earlier that somebody said, and I don't recall, but something about going down the tubes. That is not true of the Essex Township. There has actually been more building permits taken out in our township than the majority of other jurisdictions. I saw a report the other day that came out through Windsor Essex Economic Development Corporation that listed them. I was actually surprised by it, but when you look at the number of, and this is all permits, residential included, there are some communities in the peninsula that are doing very well in that regard, but we're ahead of a couple of others that we seem to be moving well, maybe not in volume, but in dollar-wise. So, and the assessment base is growing. We are certainly gaining in terms of our industrial base. Commercial is hanging about the same, but residential is also growing, and that not just a dynamic of increased house prices, but of value and the number of new starts. There's a number of new starts here in Essex Centre. And I know there's some development going on in Ward 3 and Ward 4, albeit it's limited. But there is growth. I know I had a call from a resident the other day challenging us on it, and it just in behind us here, behind the county offices here on Morton, and trying to think of the other streets in there, just off of Joan Flood. There's some very big boxes going up, some big residential homes in the $400,000 and $500,000 range. So there is growth occurring. The assessment base is growing, albeit slow. But I think you're going to find that that's a dynamic that's occurring in a lot of communities right now. The notion that Leamington's, there's a story behind Leamington's move towards their development. There's some of that development was already under consideration, and certainly it was a thrust. I think once they removed the residential development fee, it caused a few things to happen, but they were ready to roll. There's a bit of mystery, I guess, behind that one that I'd like to understand a little more. Ann Miskovsky was discussing it with me the other day, and I hope to get more details on that and put that in as a part of that presentation.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Caxero?
Through your worship, with respect to that point, Russ, I had a brief conversation with Mayor John Patterson from Leamington, and he suggested that prior to us doing anything, he would be more than willing to come with some of his administration and speak to us with respect to what they did, what they didn't do, how they're funding it, and all that kind of stuff. So we may want to invite them to speak to us with regards to that. I think part of what we need to look at also when we have this discussion, development charges is certainly one thing that it's a flash in the pan. It's a one-time charge on the lot that certainly developers see as a bonus, I think, in their pocket. I don't think it's necessarily passed on to the residential home buyer, but it does stimulate them to start building. Another thing that I think could potentially work in conjunction with, potentially, if we're looking at something in the way of relief of development charges in whole or in part, is the tax that a developer is going to pay, the residential tax that they're going to pay on a lot that they've serviced but they haven't sold yet. We haven't incurred any cost per se to the municipality at that point. But for a developer, it's crucial, and you hear it all the time, they have to sell the lots quickly, because if they don't and they pay year after year after year of taxes on those empty lots, before you know it, their profit's gone. So I believe that is another way of, through some relief, if we can, of them paying the full bill on the tax on those empty lots prior to them selling them, it may entice someone to take the chance, because if they know that they're not paying full taxes on those service lots, or they're getting relief back on the taxes that they're paying, it doesn't leave them in a situation where I have to sell these lots in 24 months.
Deputy Mayor Malash?
Yes, through your worship. I think I'd rather, before I was going to go into a full discussion, but I think I'd like to hear from an administration before I made a decision on this again. So I'm not going to talk at length on this. I'm just going to say that I would like to see a delay on this until such time that administration has a chance to present to us once again.
Well, I hope there's no one here that expected us to make a decision on this tonight. Like, you bring something up and you don't expect a decision to be made right here. I don't think, especially in light of the fact that it's been less than a year that most of us on this council, well, half of us, went through this already. I'm not against going through it again, for the benefit of the new members, but to sit here and say, hey, I'm bringing something up and I want you to vote on it tonight, I sure as heck hope no one expects that, even Larry, who brought the topic up, and like just even with this thing here, I wasn't going to say anything, but I will, seeing how people are starting to do development charges in De Silva subdivision. What are we singling out? One subdivision? One builder? There's a lot to be discussed here before we make any kind of a decision. I have one question. If I was a young guy thinking about getting married, like Sherry said something about a couple people wanting to build a house, what do I do? Wait until somebody starts building a subdivision before I find out where I want to move to? Or if I was going to get married and I'm going to build a new house, don't I go to some builder and ask him, hey, you got some property where I can have you build me a house? What are we waiting for? Like these people that want to move, don't they talk to a builder? Or they just wait until somebody decides to build a subdivision? What is our problem here? Can't we build 2 new houses for those people? Can't they build them, have them built for themselves? I don't know. I've never built a new house, never even thought about building one. Like, what is our problem? Why aren't they building these houses for these people that want to build? They want to move into Harrow. Can't we find somebody to build a house? I'll start a new business. I'll start building houses. If people want to buy them, move into them. I don't know. Lots to be discussed here. Councillor Snively.
Through you, your worship. That's your opinion.
Yeah.
I have mine.
I know.
Okay? My opinion is we need growth. That's your opinion, and please, don't personally attack somebody.
Who am I attacking? I'm giving you my opinion, the same as you did, Sherry did. Who am I attacking? Just tell me who am I attacking, and I'll apologize to him.
I have mine.
You're right. And everyone else is giving their opinion.
You think I'm going to sit here and watch a Harrow High School fail?
Do you think I am?
And you think I'm not going to put up battle?
You think I'm not? I don't know where you're coming from. I'll talk to you after the meeting, though. Is that the end of that one? Okay. Councillor Bondi.
I'd like to make a motion that administration bring back a presentation on development fees so that whether it's the same presentation so that council can have a discussion about it. Maybe we can do some brainstorming out of the box like Councillor Caxaro has suggested. And maybe like Councillor Bjorkman, maybe not the entire municipality, maybe pockets.
Okay, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Snively. Any questions? All in favor of that motion? Motion carries.
And the next item on new business is Councillor Caxaro regarding Colchester Memorial Cemetery.
Councillor Caxaro.
Through your worship, I just wanted to bring this up. There seemed to be some activity on Facebook late last week and then through the weekend with regards to some issues. We have some rules in place at our cemeteries with regards to seasonal arrangements and whatnot. I think there's some confusion with regards to how the rules apply. There was some stuff removed, albeit there may have been at least one item that was removed that maybe shouldn't have been removed. Anyway, I think the issue might kind of be resolved for the time being, but I did get a suggestion from somebody that was involved over the weekend when I met at the cemetery with them, and I think it might be worthwhile taking a look at, and I guess it'd be through Doug, at what signage we have in the cemeteries, whether or not it needs to be updated, and potentially educate the people that are using the cemeteries a little better. I realize that at the time anybody buys a plot, they do receive a copy of the rules laid out. I'm sure shortly thereafter that's misplaced and probably a couple of years later is forgotten. There's probably a few important rules with respect to attending and when you can attend and all that kind of thing, but also with regards to kind of the upkeep and to keep the cemeteries in a fairly decent fashion. It also impedes on the people we hire to maintain the cemeteries a lot of times. So I think it'd be prudent for us to maybe take a look at that, and if we can improve the signage to help this, I would support that.
Thank you, Bill. Any comments?
Item 15 is adjournment.
Oh,
Through your worship, I meant to bring this up earlier from the ACT committee in the notes, just to make sure everybody's aware that we're having a town cleanup on Saturday, May 2nd, and just something to get out that everybody at home or that are watching, listening. May 2nd, I believe it's 9:30 till 11:30. There will be cleanup in Essex Center, in Colchester, Harrow, and McGregor. And the town will be sponsoring that with garbage bags and gloves and that sort of thing. So just to save the date that we will be having a town cleanup Saturday, May 2nd.
okay, thank you, sir. That was moved by Councillor Bundy, supported by Councillor Caxero for adjournment. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much.